Hey everybody, welcome to Lotus. My name is Debbie, and this sequence is going to involve a chair and a series of twists and some forward bends, and a back arch, a back bend into the chair. Um, so I want you to have a block and a blanket, um, and then it's optional. You can also have a bolster, but we're going to start by sitting forward in the chair. And of course, as you notice, all your chairs today are backless. Um, but you'll sit on the front edge of the chair like this and just take your hands onto the back of the bar of the chair, and you're going to lean forward and just touch your shoulder blades right onto the edge of the back bar. You're going to just hold with your hands and just lift your chest upward. So we're kind of going to begin to create a little bit of a circular movement with the shoulders. Um, and just keep your head vertical. And the hands can start on the sides of the chair, but you could also have them go back depending on the range of motion that you have. But you're on the back edge of the chair, and your arms could also go down this way. Excellent. So see how that's done. You can kind of roll your shoulders externally to kind of lift your upper chest. And you're holding with your hands, opening up your collarbones. It's just a very mild back arch, kind of like a little mini back bend. So you know everybody ends up in a chair, on a desk, on a keyboard. Their shoulders are really flung forward. So here we're really opening those shoulder blades up and down. And just lean against the back bar, actually resting the shoulder blades right up against the top of the chair. Just going side to side a little bit. Excellent. And just take a few breaths here. Your feet are planted. The feet can either be hip width apart, maybe even a little bit wider, just to create some space. And you might try stretching the arms down long, or if it's best for you to just catch the back of the seat, whatever is working best for you today. And you can experiment with all the positioning of your hands, trying a whole bunch of different ways until it just feels right. Excellent. And then you're just going to push and you're going to rise yourself up and come all the way upwards. And then you can come up out of the seat. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn the chair around this way. So you're going to clasp your hands along the side of the chair so that your wrists are going to face each other, and you're going to walk your feet back. And what we're going to do is just go into like an extended downward dog. So you'll have your shoulders extended, your arms are extended, and from here you're really pressing down into your outer heels. Yep. So the outer heels are down, the toes are pressing open. You can hold on to the chair and just make sure that you're stable. So you don't want to take your legs back too far, right? And your legs are kind of perpendicular yet to the floor. There is not much forward movement in them. And then from here, you can bend your elbows out a little bit to the side. You can grip them and just re-extend now, going into this modified downward dog. Make sure that we're releasing the neck. Your ears are near the arm bones, and you're gonna or near your biceps, and you're just kind of wrap the arm bones around, kind of roll from inner to outer, and it'll just create a little more space for your neck. Just allow your head to really drop down through these modified downward dogs. While you're here, just remember to release your tongue. You can even take your feet a little wider apart and just look down at your feet and just set them even as wide as your mat. Because if you widen your feet, it's really going to help open up that region of your lower back. You can bend your elbows again and just re-extend just in your capacity. Just feel the length of the spine in this modified downward dog. Great. And then you can walk your feet to the chair, push up to rise and come up. Excellent. And then we'll do some twists. So you can sit right into the seat of the chair and then take one hand to the back bar. And if that doesn't work, you might want to just catch it a little bit lower. If you have any kind of shoulder restriction, just take your other hand just underneath between the legs and just catch the underside of the chair and then lift here. And some of you might do really well with catching the back seat of the chair this way, in which case both hands are on the seat of the chair, As you lift, you'll turn and just pull with your hands. So you're pulling with your hands and rotating the spine. And then you can even shift your hands to the front here, just outside of the knee. Right. And you might even walk this hand back a little bit further. It all depends on your range of motion. If you have a lot of flexibility in the shoulder, you might be more here, or you can walk back just a little bit and just lift and widen and just see how the top chest is open. And you're gazing up over that collarbone side of your chest. Just turn your gaze back towards the front. Excellent. You might feel this kind of sweeping of the collarbones back as your neck looks forward. It's just particularly important that there's no strain. And just having soft eyes. You can look straight ahead to the top of your mat. Excellent. And then we're just going to release back into the front and take a deep breath here. And we can start by just catching the underside of the chair and just cut your hand onto the top back edge of the bar and then lift and twist. So you're really kind of pulling with your hands when you work with the chair, because you're actually kind of immobilized with their spine and with the hand. So pull the hand. Can you get your hand outside of the knee and watch this hand go back onto the seat of the chair. And although some of you might find that you're elevated, it might even help to open up the collarbones more effectively. So it just depends a little bit on you and your shoulders and your range of motion. You can bend the elbows away from each other and spread the elbows wide. And that'll give you an opportunity to really kind of turn your collarbones. And your gaze can either look back to the front feet. Yep. And just make sure that your sitting bones are planted. You really want to feel that stability at the base. And just rest here. Just stay in this twist for a moment. Excellent. And then just reset, bring everything up to center. Just take a moment here, rest with your palms on top of the thighs, and just sense the flow of breath from here. And then you can bring your feet together. So since we're doing this chair, let's do chair pose. And this is going to involve strengthening the quad and the hip joint. And in this position, you can rest your hands on the outer hips and just watch for a second before you do it. And then you can really see the way I leverage my weight a little forward, just off of the seat of the chair. And you can sweep your arms up if you'd like to do that. If not, you can keep your hands on the side or even at your knees and just push into your outer knees. You're just off the seat about 2 inches, and then you can sit back down again. Take a breath, breathe in, open up the lungs, sense the dynamic. A chair pose is like a little cardiovascular pump. So just shake your weight a little forward, press into your heels, and then you'll come up off the chair. You can always come back down just to see that you're really moving. And then just an inch or two up off the chair to strengthen into your legs, press into your heels. Arms can go up ahead, and then just come back down. And so here you can just do a little series. I'll leave it up to you as to whether you want to hold the posture, the position, anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds. You can kind of go back and forth. It's just a really good way to use the chair to begin to create a lot of stability and strength in the lower trunk. Excellent. And then from here, you can kind of turn and set your feet right to the edge of the side of the chair, and bring your feet close together, your knees close together, and bring your back hand on the top bar and just rest it there. And then you can stretch your other arm up to the ceiling and just watch as you cross your body. See that? And then we're just going to twist again, but this one's a little bit deeper of a twist. You're going to lean forward and catch that elbow to the outside of the knee. But if that doesn't quite work out, if you can't get all the way across the body, you can bring your hand down onto the leg of the chair below. So you're not going all the way across, and you can kind of stabilize that way. Excellent job. Kind of grab it onto that bar. Yep, perfect. Excellent. So now we remember, like, one of the principles in chair work is that we use our hands to steer. And you kind of use the hands to turn the spine and revolve the chest. And you can look down, look at this. in this hand, and you're kind of pressing into the top bar to roll the shoulder blades down. And some of you may be able to get to the second stage. You might not be. It all depends on your range of motion and where you're at today. Maybe you're just not feeling it today, and that's perfectly fine. You can have that range of motion to catch the lower limb, the lower leg of the chair this way. And you might just stay here with your elbow, or if you're modifying with your hand to the inside, catching the leg between the knees. In any case, where you are is where you are. You're just turning that chest. And look down at the floor. Soft eyes, it's towards your feet, and just keep revolving that upper chest. Just take a couple deep breaths here. It's kind of like that rinse cycle of our dishwasher. We're kind of rinsing the lungs, rinsing the organs, twisting, really circulating blood. Excellent. It should feel rejuvenating. Excellent. You can slowly rise and come back up and just pause there. Feel your breath. That was quite a nice dynamic twist. And then from here, we're just going to switch over to the other side. So walk your feet over to the far side of the chair and start with your hand on the back bar. And just again, remember, raise your arm up and then exhale, catch to the outside of your knee. But remember, if that doesn't work, bring your hand between your legs and just hold that lower leg of the chair. Excellent. And you're kind of pressing down in order to really lift. So typically we kind of fall forward in this direction, sort of really like open up the clavicle, this whole region of the collarbone. And just make sure you're not straining the neck. You can look down at your feet below, and with your head turned down, just take a couple breaths into the upper lung, the upper chest, the upper ribs. Just create a real nice dynamic twist. A little more dynamic than we did the first one. Excellent. Perfect. You can grab onto that outer bar right there. Yep, that's exactly where. Excellent. You can push up with this hand onto the top of that. That'll kind of give you a little more leverage with it too. Excellent. And then just come back up and spin around. And you can take your hands to your thigh. Your feet are grounded. And just feel after the twist, like it's kind of like a wringing out of a washcloth. It's that wringing action of the spine and the organs. And just bring your hands to the side of the chair. Your knees are over your heels. We're going to go into something that's called a tabletop pose. And we're just kind of going to stretch the side of the body. Great. So you're going to draw your shoulder blades down, and you're going to press into the heel of your feet, and then raise your pelvis upward. So yeah, take some power in that seat to really lift upward. Excellent. Yep. So we're pushing up, that pelvis is rising. Great. And you can take your shoulder blades down away from the ear. There's a strong rotation of the arm bone in this direction to really help widen the collarbone. So push with the heel of your hand to create this table-like shape, although it's kind of like on a diagonal here, but you have the idea. So your feet, yep, the feet are underneath the knees. You can hold the side of the chair and just press with the heel of your hand. Excellent. Perfect. And you can just really press in there. Bring your toes out a little bit further. Just tilt. Yep. Just wiggle right here. And for some of you, it might be too much of a lift in the pelvis, and just do this movement depending on any kind of range of motions. You might rotate your shoulders down, and then you might have a bit more range of motion, or you could take your hands back a little bit. And if you take your hands back behind you, that's going to really, it's kind of going to ask the shoulder to open up much more. It just depends on your range of motion. Excellent. And we're just going to stay here for a few more breaths. Perfect. Okay, so now the hands go back and we rotate the shoulders down. And for some of you, this could be it could be a great alternative. But those of you who can, they'll lift up again into this modified table position. And just don't crank your head all the way back. You're going to have enough strength in the neck just to hold your own neck in line with the spine. And then you can release and come down. So, of course, there's always different stages of this work. Some of you might have more range of motion. Some of you might just not be feeling it today. That's perfectly okay. But you're going to walk your legs out, okay? And I'll just show this version with a straight leg. And you can repeat any of the previous positions. But here we're going to walk our feet out and we're going to lift upwards. So now the legs are extended, the arms are rotating back, and the tailbone pulls in. And this is a dynamic version. You can extend the toes, extend the sacrum up, and you can stay as long as you can. When you're ready, then just release and come back down. And just rest your hands on your knee. Take a breath for the dynamic, the pulse of the breath, your lungs. It's a lot of shoulder work today. But now we're going to go ahead and just shift gears a little bit. And let's work a little bit with the pelvis and the hip joint. So this is where I'm going to suggest taking a blanket over the seat of the chair. So have that ready for you. And I also would like you to set the block down in front of the seat. So I'll set up that here so you can see what I'm talking about. So this way, there are many, many ways to do Warrior One. And this chair is to show that one of these ways. So you can take your step through the seat of the chair and then bring your back knee down onto the block. Excellent. And those of you with kind of who are shorter in stature, you might want to take a support underneath your front side there. So if your foot floats off the floor, if you're very tall bodied, generally you have to fold the blanket up and you have to support the pelvis higher. You might have to take 2 blankets this way for really tall people. So back down, here we go. The back knee dropped all the way. Yep, have our back knee on that block. Our hands are to the back bar here, and it's kind of a modified Warrior One. Of course, it's not the raised arms aren't up here. In fact, you're pressing your hands into the back bar. But you can cycle your shoulder blades down, but from here, lift up through the front of the spine. If it's too intense on the spine, you could lean forward, and that would also be another great modification to take. You can always lean your spine forward so it's less of a back arch. But it's this Warrior One position, which is a back bend. So if you can raise through your spine this way. There is, of course, an option. You can raise the back leg off the floor, but generally that's going to put more load into the sacrum and the lumbar. Excellent. Some of you may have the range of motion to do that. Some of you may not, but you can actually rest the knee down and then come back up again. So you could always kind of do this as a little sequence. You can take a breath, but sometimes it's a little tricky to get out of it. So if you bring your hands onto the seat of the chair, set your back foot underneath, you're going to want to pivot to make sure that you're stable as you push and step back out again. Excellent. Perfect. So another way to enter the chair altogether is to sit the chair down like this, and then you step your foot through. Yep. And then bring that chair down. And then you step through it this way, and then bring the chair back up. So that might be an easier way to set this up. Perfect. So the first setup is to drop your knee to the block, and this is going to open up the hip flexor, the front hip. You can set the knee over your heel and your front leg. So you're really just stacking the joints there, and it's more stable for the joint to align the hands here. Roll those shoulder blades down, raise your chest up. Hopefully that feels really great for your body. I think most people can get into this one, but most people can have the back knee supported. The front hip is supported. The hands are against the chair. It's a super stable position. And again, this might be your modification here. If it's too much on your spine, you'll still get quite an opening of the front or the groin or even the back leg. So if you want to lift the back heel up off the floor, That's possible. Only you know how much flexibility you have, but your whole chest loops upward in this direction. Excellent. And we'll just stay here for a few more breaths, but how long you stay, it's all negotiable. But just remember that if you have any strain or inflammation or irritation, then just, do more of the modified setup. And then from here, just take your time to come out of this. You can push through and just come back outwards. Excellent. Carefully, carefully. And we're just going to go to the opening setup that we did with that modified downward dog earlier. So just set your hands on the side of the chair again, and then elongate the spine. Perfect. And just bend your knees for a moment. So you're going to get more bend in the knees, and you can really just lengthen sideways. You elongate the side body, and then just re-extend your legs per your capacity today. You don't have to stretch the legs all the way. It's all going to depend on your hamstrings, but the arms are stable. Excellent. And that pumping action can really help people who are kind of tight in the shoulder. And from here, you can just walk your feet in, and we're going to rise and come all the way up. Excellent. Stay here for a moment. Take noticing of your body. And then from here, we're just going to use the chair to support our head for some wide angle positions. So here you'll want to use the blanket for your head on that second step. Excellent. So you're going to bring your stance really nice and wide. So the chair is on the edge of your mat, and you're going to bring your hands to your waist, pressing your heels down. You're going to lift up, and then on an exhale, come forward. And you might start with your hands just like that on the seat of the chair, your elbows onto the seat of the chair. This could be a really great place to just even stop here. Some of you might need the block so that you can rest your forehead, but I'm really interested if you can, particularly if you're doing a lot of keyboard work, a lot of looking at a screen all day, I'd find it really important if you just really support the head. So it could be on a block, long ways, medium, tall, but you're supported on the chair and the legs are extended. Excellent. And just breathe into that space right now. So those of you who can get down this far, really important for the back of the neck and the ears and the eyes and the brainstem, really recuperates the brain and supports the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the nervous system helps us, rest and digest. So then you can just bend one knee and push into your outer heel and extend beyond the push into your outer heel. Just kind of re-extend. Excellent. Just go side to side a few times. And just going side to side like that pumping action, it's going to help the joints kind of stay mobile. But there's still even options here now. You could bring your hands down to the front of the chair, the front of the legs of the chair. Excellent. So see that's one option. The other option depends on, again, I keep going back to this, your range of motion, but you can bring your hands onto the floor. You might have that range. You might be on the block, but you might want to just keep your head down. But you can negotiate it so that your head is supported. You're not jamming your neck. You're keeping the length out of that cervical region. Excellent. And this is just really, really valuable to do. I would do this one every day for at least a minute or two in these positions, just like you guys are doing here. It's so valuable for the brain and the sensory organs and the neck. Just very, very vital, especially with the lifestyles that we live today with sitting and staring and everything. Excellent job. So to come out, we can kind of bring your elbows up to the chair and then just walk it in, slowly walk in, and then your hands can be here. Then push to rise and just come all the way up. So how are you doing? It's good? Is it possible that we want to go just one more notch? So let's go back to the chest opening again. And for this one, I just want you to watch here for a second. This one's going to be a little bit more involved, and I think it's best to show it to see how the block on the chair and the blanket comes over the front edge of the chair. So just bear with me for a second while we set this up. You want your bolster or something else underneath you to start under your pelvis. You don't have to. You could just start on the floor, but I'm going to bring my shoulders to the edge of the chair. It's another version of like that table, but it's a bit more dynamic. Um, just a little more dynamic in this sequence. So this is like the cream of the sequence right here. You can get into it. So just watch. You're going to press your heels and raise your pelvis up. And then you have your head to the block, and that'll be the first stage. I'm going to come back down to explain this. Now, your shoulders have to be on the chair, so don't like come off of it at all. You have to get your whole shoulder onto the chair. And I'm going to show this with the block under the back of my head, because a lot of people are short in the back of the neck, so you might need support. You might need to support your head this way, but that's just an alternative. Some of you might not need the block, so you can do this as long as you're still watching, all right? So you can just have your head rest on the chair as long as like this. So that's a pass, right? So from here, you really reach back and you take your hands onto the top bar. See that it's hard to me to talk with my throat extended like that, but you can see my whole upper body at the edge of my shoulder blades are still being supported by the chair. It's not in the middle of my back. I'm not, I'm not off of it. I'm not hanging off. My head is supported. The shoulder blades are supported. And that's a version of the table. And then you guys can get into that now. Just have some of that strength in your seat to hold you up because your hands are here at the top. Excellent. And let me just show the last phase, and then you can go for 2 elbows to pull in. And now it depends. This is where it's going to depend on your range of motion as to whether you can utilize this pose or not. But the next stage is to take the hands back. As I said, there are so many stages of these positions, and this is just one of them. But this is for people who have a lot more, range of motion, maybe a lot more flexibility. But there are these stages. The arms on the top bar, underside of the seat, and then the lower back bar. So once you make your way into it, um, the main thing I want is to make sure that your shoulders are on the chair. Your shoulder blades are on the chair, right to the edge of the chair. Perfect. The key comfort is the key, meaning there should be no strain. You're not straining your neck. There's no strain in your jaw. There's no strain in your chest. Perfect. And then with whatever variation you're using with your hands, you can move your elbows away from the knees and they're going towards the wall behind you to exit out of this. And just remember the block or the bolster is there to prevent any kind of crash landing. So now that your pelvis goes down, you can manually lift your head up and then out you go from the chair. And you can just sit in whatever pose you want to sit in. You can sit upright here, or you can sit cross-legged for a second and just sense and feel the body. You can close your eyes or soften the eyes and just sense your body. That was a very big opening for the chest, really big opening. You might feel like you have miles and miles of space right now in your upper chest, in your collarbones, in your lungs, in your heart. So just take some nice open breaths to the back body through the lungs. Excellent. Just stay here for a few more seconds, a few more breaths. Now, from doing all that work, we do want to do a counter pose. So you can keep your blanket on your chair and come to sit on the front edge of the chair and have your block in the middle, right in between your feet, on the longest setting. And then you can raise your arms up to the sky. And we've been here before. So just to use the chair. And now you're going to have options again here. So you might want to take your head to the block, but maybe not. Maybe you just want to bend your hands to the floor and just have the block there. And if you have your bolster, you can put your hands onto the bolster in front of you and just come right up to the front edge of the chair. Don't fall off. And the second stage, of course, is like catch the hands onto the back leg of the chair and just pull the head down. And the spine's going to round. It's going to really open up your back, the back of the spine in these forward folds. So you can stay there. Actually, you can have your feet as wide as a mat so you can bring your torso between the knees. And then just take your time and slowly rise up through center. Take a pause at the top with your eyes closed. Excellent. And just stay here for a moment. We have a few minutes left in this class, so I'm going to ask you to just go into Shavasana. There's going to be really no eloquent way to go from this chair into it, so I'm just going to ask for you to stand up and try to get all your props out of the way, the chair out of the way. Lay yourself down. Set yourself up in Shavasana. Your legs are extended in front of you. Your arms are down at your sides, palms facing up. The feet can fan open. There is no tension in the forehead, in the jaw, in the mouth, in the tongue, anywhere. Let your bones settle into the mat. I will stay quiet for a few minutes while you're in Shavasana, and I will let you know when it's time to exit. And you can come out of Shavasana by beginning to wiggle your toes and wiggle your fingers, breathing life back into them. You can reach your arms up overhead. Take a big stretch from the tip of your fingers to the tips of your toes. When you're ready, you can roll onto your right side into the fetal position. Stay there for a moment. Push yourself up using your left hand and join me at an easy seat here on your mat. Thank you so much for joining me for today's gentle twisting chair yoga class. I hope you really enjoyed it. I do plan on doing more of these in the future. So if it was something you enjoyed, feel free to reach out. Let me know of any other things you'd like me to incorporate into it, whatever you may be looking for. But again, thank you so much for joining me and enjoy the rest of your day. Namaste.